I think I've been in my studio for a little too long, though. I need to get out. I've been mixing with that. It seems like music is an excuse to be social, right? And I think that's a beautiful thing. A lot to do with community, man. It's like the nostalgia and community. It's just wanting to be a part of something and having that kind
Yeah.
of like-minded group of people. It's like really cool to be around with, right? I really hate people who just do covers and that's it.
When do you think Pakistan will export like a proper band kind of act? Hello, Mustafa. How are you doing?
Oh, hello. How's it going? Yes,
It's
life
going
is
well,
going
man.
good. Very grateful for a lot of things. It's great to talk to you, man. It's been so long. A year.
It's great to talk to
Yeah.
you as well, man. So what have you been up to? What's the most interesting thing you've done
Yeah.
recently?
I guess that would be the Bahrain Asian Youth Games event that I was a part of. So I ended up doing the whole production for the sound design, orchestration. I think that was like the biggest project I've ever been a part of, and incredibly grateful for that. And so I guess at the moment, yeah, that would be the biggest thing that I've been a part of. But I do have an album that I'm working on with my band. I've got a lot of client work, like in the local scene here. I'm recording in a couple of EPs, uh, and yeah, it's going good. I'm very grateful for everything at the moment, and hopefully I'll get more clients, like a constant backlog of clients. But yeah, that's where Crop Circle Studios is at the moment. I guess yeah, I should have mentioned. Crop Circle Studios is my venture, my studio over here, my drum set, my very nice studio monitors, and yeah. So that's
Yes,
where I do all
I
my
think
work.
that was my job to introduce you well. So Mustafa Mir is an amazing musician and an extraordinary producer, and he runs Crop Circle Studios. It is one of the studios which I have looked up to for even before you started, since you always had this idea. And when I was trying to get my own thing going, it was like everything. I would just go and compare everything to you because I was like, Mustafa's doing it
Oh,
so
that
well.
means a lot, man. Yeah,
And
that
the
means a
bands
lot,
that you
man.
worked with, even your own music. So Mustafa is in a band called Regis with Ryan Mir, his brother, and Kyle D'Souza is a
Yeah,
guitarist, one of their friends. And they make amazing progressive metal, ambient kind of stuff. And Mustafa also
yep, yep.
produces and releases his own solo music as well. It's a lot of ambient, I would say,
Yeah.
film scoring kind of stuff as well, right?
Yeah,
Falls into
yeah,
that.
I'm a huge fan of that for sure. Cinematics, Hans Zimmer kind of thing. I love it. I love it so much. I tend to like a lot of genres. Like I just recently released a synthwave track, out of nowhere. So that was really fun. So yeah, I'm into a lot of things. I think good music is good music. The sounds that attribute a genre is secondary to me. I think when you put love and effort into something, you tend to resonate with it anyway. So yeah, I've always liked 80s nostalgia, even though I've never lived in 80s. I'm a 2000s kid. But for some reason, I don't know, Stranger Things, that kind of hit me. That whole
Yeah.
vibe is really cool to me. So yeah, I was like, let me make a synthwave track.
Mhm. And
So
these things
yeah,
do have a tendency of like coming back, so they're cyclical. Like 80s came back and then went
yeah.
away. Then 90s came back with like the whole new metal thing, the whole
Mm-hmm.
new metal
Yeah.
resurgence right now. That's also part of it, probably.
Yeah, totally, totally. And it has a lot to do with community, man. It's like the nostalgia and community. It's just wanting to be a part of something and having that kind
Yeah.
of like-minded group of people. It's like really cool to be around with, right? It seems like music is an excuse to be social, right? And I think that's a beautiful thing, right? Bringing us together, um, regardless of genre. And it's a beautiful thing. It's one of life's
That's
greatest gifts, I think. Yes, for
that's
sure.
a very good point, man.
Art, music.
Music is an excuse to be social. I mean, for people like us, that has always been the case.
Yeah.
And
I need
generally,
though I think I've been in my studio for a little too long though. I need to get out. I've been mixing with
I know, right, man?
that.
Me too. But that's a very interesting point because I was also thinking about this. So everyone in any kind of ecosystem, let's say, not necessarily even music, everyone's got a certain role to play. Like naturally,
Mhm.
everyone has certain inclinations, and then whatever they love to do, if they do it, it generally flows and feeds into something else that someone else loves to do. And for in our case, like we're the kind of people where we would not leave the house if we really don't have to, and we would just the whole reason I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, the whole reason we're producers is because we were just always in front of our computers and just trying to get something out. I don't even know how it started.
Yeah.
Like you also said, like bit by the bug. But then
Mm.
people who love to be out there, they are more extroverted. They're more into performance, even though we love to do that as well. But
Mhm.
then our work also feeds into theirs as well. So how do you
Yeah, it's all
think
interconnected,
community
isn't it?
plays a part in that?
Yeah, so it's the introverts and the extroverts can unite together, and it's like we're two sides of the same coin. I think, especially like in the music scene, right? Because there's a live aspect to it and the recording side of it. So if someone like me who's like all the way into recording production, someone who's really into live performances could come over and get their stuff recorded, and then go off and do a tour and all those sort of things. So it's all interconnected, and I think it's great to have nerds in each sector. Like for me, this whole production thing came out of a necessity, right? Because when I was around 14, 15, yeah, 10, 11 years ago, I was like, damn, I want to record my music now. Like I've got like this band that I've, got, ran. At the time we had our cousin, right? So it was like a three-piece band. And so we were trying to write music. He would be in Abu Dhabi, by the way, our cousin. So it was like a 2-hour drive. So we would only see each other like a few times a year. And whenever we did meet, we tried to make music. And I recorded my drums with like a microphone on a stool, and it's the funniest thing ever. But so it kind of came out of a necessity, and so I started playing with Audacity, which I think we all know and love, right? It's like the first DAW that everyone gets onto. Started recording through that, live drums, live guitars, and then yeah, so it just kind of I got bit by the bug, and I never stopped getting into production. And around when I was 18 was when I started making some sort of income from it. And so I was like, holy shit, okay, I guess this is what I could do for the rest of my life. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, I guess I went on a tangent there, but yeah.
No,
Um,
but that's a very nice point. So you said like around 18 is when so when all any of us, like whenever we start with any kind of skill, we're diving into it as teenagers. We don't really know why we're doing it. We just really, really, really want to do it. And
yeah,
then,
yeah.
so like around 18, when you felt like, okay, this is what I want to do. And that's pretty early for a lot of people. They don't really find something like that, something they love so much to invest so much into. But if you found that, life still is never that simple anyway, right? So what are the realities that you started facing? So like they I'm sure they were technical as well, so you had to level up your skills as well. There could also be more like
Mhm.
life related stuff. There could be like, for example, in my case, a lot of it was just communicating with others, because the
Yeah,
skill
yeah,
doesn't really go along with actually getting yourself out there and the realities
yeah.
of life. So what are some, like, what do you think were the bottlenecks you faced, like from that point onwards?
Totally. I mean, I think it's not only about like your skills, right? Let's say like you're into a production and okay, I can record your band or whatever. If you once you take that role, you're now a business owner. Basically, you need to know how to communicate with people, like figure out your rates, your quotes, how to give them your quotes in the best possible wording, and the payment plans and all sorts of things. And so that taught me a lot about business, really. Like how much should I charge, and like how much effort should I put into it? Should I, record the guitars after they're gone because they can't play their parts? It's how much, how much bending do you want to do, right? So that taught me a lot, right? So I think the biggest bottleneck for me was, communicating my pricing with my clients because when I was 18, I didn't really know what I could charge because I just started out. And so when my clients would come over and be like, "Hey, so let me know what your rates are, and we'll get to work." And so I started like searching the internet in the buy scene, and I was like, "How much do people charge for this shit?" I was like, so I just charged them an amount that I felt was reasonable, and it was definitely very, very low at the time. And so they accepted and kind of went on that way. So he's actually that client is I'm actually producing their new album this year. So that's kind of cool how that worked out. But very good friend of mine. But yeah, so that's I
That's the
think
band
communication.
Mortal Koi, right?
No, it's actually Skeptic, a
Oh,
local
okay. That's the
band.
other one you were working with,
Yeah,
Skeptic. Oh, they're sick.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, so you've heard their stuff, right? I guess
yeah.
they have a new single. I'll send it to you. We've got Bumblefoot on the solo on that
Oh,
track. So I mixed his guitars. That was insane, man. That
that
was absolutely surreal, dude.
that's
Mixing,
wild, man.
yeah,
Can't wait to hear.
Bumblefoot, man, insane. But yeah, I think it's you end up being a business owner really when you start doing that. So communicating is for me is like pretty hard, right? Pretty introverted and trying to be that stern businessman, I guess. Like setting your boundaries right can be a little monotone, right? So I think that
Yeah,
needs to be worked on whenever you're trying to deal with clients. You want to be a good person to be around with, someone who's easy to talk to, and like you shouldn't be so rigid, right, with your communication. Like, okay, like, all right, this is the pricing. I'm not going to bend any lower than this. Take it or leave it. That kind of mentality tends to not go so far. I think you do need to be flexible and just be a cool person to be around with. Be like, you know what, we can do this track, but we can maybe just work on a collaboration track instead, and so we can get producer credits, and so you don't have to pay as much because it's more of like a collaboration track and all sorts of stuff. Just I think you need to just build that portfolio as you grow in this whole scene, and then as you grow with the years, right? You can just start like slowly increasing your rates, and yeah, your work can speak for itself, really. And that's the thing, really. I think you need to be the person, the person in the scene to be um, to get clients. I think going out your way to like to musicians and be like, hey man, I could produce your band. Please check out my stuff. Never works. I've never done it, but I've heard from people it just doesn't work because no one wants to have like someone just come into their lives out of nowhere, right? It sounds like you're desperate, right? So might as well just do your thing, put it out there, and just hope for the best, and just be a social person, right? I guess talk to people, be in the scene, be amongst musicians, be amongst businessmen as well, like people who are like, or not businessmen, but I guess entrepreneurship, right? People who are into that whole thing because you feed off of it, right? That
yeah.
inspiration. Like just recently, I found out my friend he started his own business, like he's registered his business, and he's like 25 and everything. And so super inspiring stuff, right? So that whole kind of thing feeds off of you. So yeah, I think
And
that's
it's
the
also
biggest thing, really.
because there's a lot to learn from entrepreneurs like that. But with that said, obviously, mostly we're working with artists, and it's sensitive to work with artists. Like a lot of the things that you said about pricing, and it doesn't. So like something that you learn from strictly, let's say, like a corporate kind of way of doing things,
Mhm.
it wouldn't exactly apply in this
Yeah,
situation. Some
totally.
aspects, like some objective aspects of it, might, but then again, a lot of the times, like something that I've struggled with over the years is a lot of the clients that I initially got. So when I was younger, I also got into production around when I was like 16, I'd say. So later than you, that's when I got bit by the bug. And I started getting clients when I was around, that was also late. So like 20, 21 ish. So
Mhm.
because for me, it was mostly just to make my own stuff. That was why I was learning
Mhm.
production.
Yeah,
And the
same here.
clients, I remember the first client came in because it was one of a friend of mine. It wasn't even his record, it was someone else's, and they just wanted someone who would be technical and would just listen to them and just record and not say anything. And I was just a shy kid, and I would just be like, I would just press record. I would like just sit there and they would do their thing.
The
But
big red button.
surprisingly, that that was such a nice way to learn things because like I would get out of the way. So it was their
Mhm.
art and their stuff. And over the years, that has been one of the like crucial things that I've learned. Being like a lot of the times when you are a producer, it's a it's a spectrum between being an audio engineer and being like have suggesting some creative things if the artist wants it
Mhm.
or not. And
Yeah.
it isn't like set in stone. So
Mhm.
I found that you cannot really dictate any side of it. You can, because you're there to
Mhm.
serve their vision of their art,
Yeah.
and it's so close to them, and whenever you're working with a client on something that's close to them, it's already risky business. What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
So like for sure, man, like with music, it's with how sensitive it is to hire someone to like record your stuff. I think it's, it's extremely sensitive, right? For sure. So it comes with great responsibility, right? With great power comes with great responsibility. So I think, especially like with rough mixes, for example, right? When people recorded their stuff already, like through their phone or whatever, they would probably like that mix better than what you'd give them because they're just so, locked into that whole sound, right? Because people call it like the rough mix syndrome, right? Where they're just so attached to their own sound. And so when anyone comes in, right, a third party who is another like part of the project, it's like it's very sensitive and things can get pretty, like no, I don't like that sound. We should change it. Let's use my broken SM57 to record it. So yeah, it's a fine line, and you got to really be someone who can really get into their heads. Really understand where they're coming from, and I've noticed pretty much 9 times out of 10, 10 out of 10 actually, like whenever I would suggest an idea, they'd always be open to having ideas, new ideas into their music. I feel like uh, people like that generally, because you can always mute it, it's not like it's set in stone, but that can always be like a collaborative experience, right? So instead of them hiring you to record their stuff and just being done with it, right? They now got a track that could be possibly better. If they're open minded to it, you could always dance around and maybe send them a mix, right, with a cool keyboard part that you didn't add before. It was like, hey man, I just added that in. I just felt it was pretty cool. We can delete it if you want. And then a lot of times they would be like, yo, holy shit, man, that was pretty cool. We can keep that. And so that's how it is. It's at the end of the day, you are being hired to just do that job, but being more collaborative not only builds like a social network with that person, a better connection. You get something that's more unique at the end for them, at least, as well.
Completely
So
agreed, man. Something that's very interesting with this is I used to be very shy about this, so I wouldn't suggest anything, right? Because how I mentioned how I started was like with elder musicians, and I would be the younger one.
yeah,
And then with time, I started having more fun in the process. And obviously, as artists ourselves, we also get ideas while we're working on something. So
yeah, yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to work with artists who, especially in the sound design aspect of it. So like if they have a sound, a lot of the times, exactly the reason why they are coming to a producer is because they need to get it down on paper, I guess, like get it recorded,
Get
right?
it tangible, yeah.
Get it tangible, right? So they would describe, and in my case, it works really well in like actual conversations with them, which is not even about the music necessarily. It is about, okay,
Yeah,
what are you trying to do when you are making this song, or not even the song, what were you feeling when you first wrote this song, or something a little more abstract that usually gets us going in a conversation which might have nothing to do with the music at all. But the end result of that would be that I would know exactly what to do with like a specific reverb or like a specific spatial thing.
yeah.
I would be able to, because I'm sure you agree. So a lot of the times the way we process the universe, it was so weird. As a kid, it didn't make sense. And then all of these things that people would say, we would translate them differently. But now that's like a superpower. So people talk about things a certain way and we could translate them in sound. So, then at the end of the musicians are usually like, okay, how did you get to that point by this conversation? But that's the goal. Like, it's about vulnerability from their part and our part. So giving something a shot, giving something a try. This also works really well in harmonies. So like in vocal harmonies and stuff. We also do this in our own stuff as well. So like when collaborating, you would sing something completely different.
Yeah. When we work together, like you're literally singing on the track and you're gonna hear it, man. You're gonna hear your voice. So it was really cool. Like it's not like we ever said, we're gonna get Hassan on it. It's like, but you ended up coming in and it was awesome, man. So that's like such a beautiful experience, just hanging out with someone like you jive with, and it's always going to be a great experience, And yeah, man, for sure, 100%. It's like people are talking in colors, you have to like kind of dissect the colors and just try to come up with like a end product, You kind of have to be like a therapist in a weird sense. you got to kind of get in their heads, really understand where they're coming from and be like, so like, why did you do that back in the day? Like, what's your, like, why did you like that snare drum? Why is Mike Portnoy your favorite drum? All sorts of things. And then you start diving into like, what did Mike Portnoy use? What tuning did he use? What mic did he use? And then you start connecting the dots, like just recently with my new client, they have like, I asked them like, so what are your references? Like your sonic references and your musical references, right? So I got Carnival, I got a Dream Theater. They were like, okay, I'm into some weird death metal band that I couldn't read the name of. So it was like multiple different production styles. And so as a producer, as a mixing engineer, you kind of have to figure out what would be the best elements to pick out of all of those three, right? To like make something that's unique and so that could also be something that they like, right? All the members in the band that could like agree on, right? So yeah, that's very important, right? Just understanding the person, which ends up being a really good social skill anyway. Building relations, right? So
And it makes for a very good studio environment. It makes for a warm and welcoming studio environment that they're comfortable coming to and recording.
100%. I got some good ass lights as well, so that helps too. It's like really set the tone. I got like this lemongrass spray as well, so like whenever the client's coming in, it's nice and fresh, and like really moody and stuff.
Very nice, man. I'm taking notes. I got to level up.
It's just like ambient lighting. You can't see, but behind this monitor, I have like these two lights that can change color.
No, I've seen those in your videos, in your YouTube videos.
Oh, did you? All right, yeah, cool. So I even have one I've even got one behind the desk, so it's at the back. So it's like so three lights that I can just change around. I'm thinking of adding one to my keyboard. So I have like an 88 key thing over here. So I wanted something underneath that I could like see my keys.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see it. That's where my keyboard is.
But I get what you're saying. It's like
just the keyboard. You're setting the mood, man.
Yeah.
But
this is very important because
people like lights, man. Once to come in.
Because at the end of the day, the studio has to be inviting, right? For them to, it's not like it would be, if it would be super technical and they would step into the room and it would look like a factory, they wouldn't want to work in there, let alone create something, create art.
Yeah, man. Or like a dental clinic. Oh my God. White lights, super like, it's just,
that hospital lighting. I don't know. Some people like it, lighting. But in a studio environment, I don't. Because do you agree? Studios are cultural spaces. So because they cultivate art not just for the artist, but what's happening between the artist and the producer, and when they're thinking about their audience as well. So like the people they listen to them. So it's a whole thing going on, which it has got some cultural power to it. Whatever will happen in this room
100%
will go out there. How do you think, as artists that you work with and as a producer, how do you make sense of that? Like, are you conscious of how studios are cultural spaces, or is it something that just happens?
I think that's just something that happens, like with every path that someone goes on, like with their journey, end up like when you end all those people coming into one place and like working together on something. I think that's such a beautiful thing. And that ends up being the culture itself, right? Because we're already coming from inspirations that we had back in the day when we were like kids. And so coming together and working on something that's original, right? That's adding to the culture and to the scene. It's a very beautiful thing. And it's great, man. Like, especially like in studios and having it look good, it can always, cultivate that inspiration. And it's a beautiful thing for sure.
Because at the end of the day, a lot of times when any musician that I'm working with, we all agree on this. What we felt like when we first heard Linkin Park, when we were like, I was like 6 years old. I mean, like if someone else was like 7, 8 or something, that emotion that you feel in like that adolescent age, if your music, if your art of any medium can make someone else feel that, I think that's a win. Yeah. And to make something like that, there are so many aspects of realities of like business and logistics and a lot of stuff that as now adults, we have to ensure that all of that is put in place so that we take care of our artists and our studio and our work, so that we produce something that then connects with someone like that. And that's how the scene basically thrives.
It's a cycle, right? Where in order to consume art, you need to first, I think, create art. I think that you got to respect both aspects of it, and especially as people like us who are creative, I think it's so important to have your own voice and be a part of, creating your music. So like, I'm a big proponent of like, so if you like, I really hate people who just do covers and that's it. It's a hot take. I think it's such a sad thing just to do that, just to be an insane guitar player, but just never have your voice. But you're just like a really good copywriter, right? Or just a really good copy pasting dude, right? And I think it's cool on a technical level that you can do it. But I think it's even more beautiful to like have your own voice, right? Because we're all individual and we're all unique. We're literally made from stardust, man. Come on, like just embrace it and
Carl Sagan.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I think it's so important to just have your voice. And a lot of times when it's like mixing decisions where I would have like one thing a little too loud or whatever, I'm constantly asking myself, like, is this something that I actually like? Or am I not wanting to like it simply because other tracks don't have that? It's like, it's a fine line, right? From like staying in a certain circle and like then slightly going outside that circle and like broadening your horizons in that kind of space. And so that extra edge is basically you, and that's your voice, right? So I think you could be maybe 80-20, like 80% the genre or whatever, and then that 20% is like your own flair, your own weird ass thing. Maybe adding like a Chinese instrument out of nowhere on a death metal track or something, which I tend to do. So it's bringing all sorts of inspirations together and like really being you is so important, because if everyone's just the same, what's the point? You're just gonna get Linkin Park 2, you're just gonna get Linkin Park 3, and it's just the same thing.
And Linkin Park was never thinking like that, which is exactly why they made that stuff.
Exactly. Like, I don't think any other band, maybe I need to look into it more, but like Linkin Park, they've defined a sound, like a generational sound, just insane. It's I saw them live recently, actually. So
that was a milestone. Well, that was insane.
100%, man. Bucket list, man.
How were they live, man?
Airtight, man. It was flawless, man. It was insane. Like the lighting, I thought it wasn't going to be as cinematic and as crazy with the lighting, but they went so hard with the lighting. They had like these crazy lasers that just like darted to the end of the stadium. It looked so sick, man. I didn't even understand how those lights were like working the way they did, because they looked like alien to me. The way how it like interacted with the stage. Oh my god, crazy stuff.
This was in Dubai, right? Or
no, actually no, it was Abu Dhabi. Yeah, Abu Dhabi. So we drove there. Really fun.
That was
it was a really funny story with that, actually.
What was it?
So after the concert, we hung out to like 3 a.m. in the morning, eating Popeyes at a joint. And then since it was like an hour or 1 hour 30 minutes to get back home, and it was like 3 a.m. in the morning, so like public transport wasn't an option. And I could use a taxi, but I'd be paying like so much money, like $100 just to get back home, right? So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna sit next to the metro, right? The bus that we have, right? The metro station. So I stayed up all night till like 5 a.m. in the morning, and then just got my ass back home. And so I was like still high off the concert, no sleep, just got some food in my system, not much, and then just like living off of that experience. It was crazy. it was fun.
That is like lifetime highlight moments.
Oh man, yeah, man. Sure. That's like I think I'm kind of weird in that kind of sense. Like most people wouldn't do those crazy things, I guess. Well, I wanted to, take advantage of my youth because I don't have much of it anymore. I've got 4 years.
No, man. That's not young, man. No, say young like that. But that's very interesting. See, so Linkin Park came to play there, and a friend of mine also saw them in Germany. So scenes in different places are very different. How would you say something like the work that we do and the scene that we're in, the communities that we're building, how are they different in Dubai, for example, in the UAE or in Europe, and compared to what's happening in Pakistan right now? How do you see all of that, and where do you see in the future? Where will it go?
Like with how small of a country UAE is, the metal scene is going to be much smaller, right? For sure. But what I've noticed is that even though it's like we've got a really small group of people who are like always, I would see the same people at the concerts, like every even like one small bar gig, like they're everywhere. It's like the same group of people, right? But it's a very small but passionate group of people that come to these shows, and since it's like such a niche community, people tend to be very extravagant with their love and appreciation to metal music, for example, especially. Like I would see women come in like Viking outfits, man, or like men with like massive boots, black, this, that, like spiked up belts. It's crazy, man. It's like you're at a goth fest or something. I don't know, like some emo thing.
That is
It's like,
exactly how it was in the Ye Phir Se Vapas Aa Gaye rock and roll tour that we were on as well. People were coming, they were hyped, man.
yeah, exactly, right. It's cool. But I've actually, I mean, I've never been to Europe. I mean, I've been to the UK when I was 5, but from what I see in the European scene, it's kind of normal there, right? Because metal music kind of it's pretty big there, especially like in Finland, right, for example, where there's like for every 10 people, there's like one person in a band or whatever. But so things tend to be pretty normal there when it's so widespread. I don't see many Europeans wearing crazy outfits to concerts. They come in with a normal, basic ass, t-shirt and whatever, and they look like some, like your stock character in like Wii or
Yeah.
something, like a character creator mode or something. But yeah, when you've got like a small group, things tend to be a lot more, you know, juiced up, I think, in terms of passion, which is
And
very
that's
cool. So that's what I see here.
that's a
In
very
Dubai.
fun place to be for a scene. So like this stage
Yeah.
of growth is very fun. It's very rich.
Yeah, it's very cool, man. There's so many bands nowadays that are coming from Europe that are performing here. So that's very cool to see. I've seen like so many pretty big bands that I would consider them to be almost stadium level bands playing in like a bar, here in Dubai. Like it's crazy. Like Septic Flesh. I don't know if you know about that band, but
Yeah, I know them.
yeah, so they're like this massive orchestral death metal band, right? And they ended up playing in a bar, and I saw them live, and they were like right next to me. It's like platinum tickets. I get to see them right in front of
Yeah.
me, and you can just get a drink on the side. It's crazy. But yeah, there's like a lot of people who've there's like this few guys who've created a venue here in Dubai. I think yeah, they've got like a few venues here that a lot of bands come in and play, which is really cool to see now. Like Lacuna
What's the
Coil is
size of the
coming in.
venue like?
I would say about 250 people or something.
Okay.
Yeah, or slightly more than that, but not much, man. For how big the band is, I'm surprised they sign up for this kind of stuff. Anyway, I don't know what the whole monetary exchange is in that regard, because the guys who own these studios or sorry venues and bar spaces or whatever probably have a lot of dough and can compensate for that. But yeah, it's very cool to see, man. Like I opened up for some German band called Resit I think a year or two ago. So
Nice.
that was really cool. Like when I was playing with Mortal Coil, which is a good friend, a great group of friends of mine, and I used to play with them. And so we weren't as big as we are now, as they are now, but we still ended up getting that gig of opening for a pretty hefty band, from Germany. So I even have a few friends who are opening for Lacuna Coil as well. I think
Oh,
they're performing here in Dubai, and like today or tomorrow or something.
that's
So
great.
very cool. Actually, my friend who produced another local band here in Dubai, they opened up for Linkin Park actually for in Bahrain and in Abu Dhabi, which is Peach Puffs, by the way. So it's the local band. Shout out to Peach
Whoa.
Puffs. So my friend, who I've known him for like forever, his name is Abhijit Padi. He's an incredible producer, incredible musician, and such an awesome dude. He just randomly sent me a mix that he was working on. He was like, "Hey, Mustafa, just check this mix out. Let me know what you think." And so I was like, "Hey, man, this is a pretty cool track. Like, which band is this?" He's like, "Peach Puffs." I was like, "All right, I've never heard of them, right?" And then apparently they were like a local band here. And then I got my tickets to see Linkin Park. And then as the day was coming close, I saw like a poster that Linkin Park posted. Linkin Park special guest Peach Puffs. I'm like, what the fuck? That's like the band that my friend was talking about. So yeah, it was just crazy how
That's what
things are
happens when
starting to.
bigger bands come from different scenes, like local bands get to open for them, and that's like a big opportunity for a lot of them.
Yeah,
So
100%,
interaction
100%.
between communities is really important as well.
Yeah, like
How
another
do
pretty
you
big
see that?
band.
Do you see something like that happening in Pakistan? And how will Pakistan get connected to all of these other communities? Because we are
You
headed
know,
toward that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Like one of the reasons why Rihan and we started Act Three was so that we could bring in international artists one day. Because whenever Rihan he's asked to these bands like semi-famous bands, like let's say um, Bleed from Within, right? They're pretty big, but not ultra
Wait, I
big. I
think
think.
we did not mention that. Did we mention Act 3? No, we did not. So
Oh,
you, your brother Ryan, and Burhan run the
yes,
best venue in Lahore. It's called
yeah,
Act 3. Yeah, I'm sorry.
yes, sir.
Continue.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the goal. That was always the end goal to like really have that hub for international artists. Let's niche metal musicians from Europe or whatever to come over and perform because we see that in India all the time. Like Tesseract's played there, Monuments has played there, all sorts of big ass bands. Dream Theater recently played Linkin Park, and so I'm always like, damn man, like why don't we have that? Like, I obviously with the whole, political aspects, sure, but I guess with how we, promote the music scene here through social media, it could have a pretty massive impact in terms of how we're perceived, and how awesome it is to be part of this community in Pakistan. And it's not like you're gonna have a horrible time here or like it's not safe or anything, right? So that's the kind of goal I think as participants in the community. I think that's part of our goal,
Mm.
our mission. I think we should all strive to do, right, just to be a community that is of respect and love and
And especially the
uh,
roles that our studios are playing, like exactly how we talked about how everyone has got a role to play. So as producers and artists ourselves, so I don't think the artists necessarily themselves have a problem with coming. A lot of them would love to come here. Like you mentioned, Bleed from Within, they were
yeah,
really they
exactly.
were really
He
into
was
coming to
talking.
Pakistan.
Yeah. Even another band, I think, what's their name? Spell, yeah, from Canada. They were another band that
Yeah.
really wanted to
They're so
perform.
good.
Um, yeah, there's this another band called Earthside, which is one of my favorite bands ever. Like we talk, I'm friends with the guitarist on Facebook. I just sent him a Facebook request once, and he accepted it. And was like, then we started talking. But yeah, he's also very open minded, and I'm sure he would love to come to Pakistan one day to perform. So yeah, and I definitely that would be the end goal. I would love to see Pakistan be a place where we could have these European acts and international acts to come over and perform. I think that would be a beautiful thing. I think with tell me about the tour. We had someone from America come in, right? The alt route, right? Tell me about that.
Yeah,
That was very very cool to see. Jim,
So
Jim, Jimmy.
Jim from the alt route. So Jim is from the US. He came to Pakistan to support us on the Phir Se Wapas Aa Gaya Hai Rock and Roll Tour 2025. Rebel Club, the band from Islamabad, an amazing uh, classic
Yeah,
rock
killer
punk
band.
band. They organized it, and then it was basically all of it was a DIY thing, and we had people supporting us. And Jim was there from the start. So he came to Pakistan all on his own. He documented the whole thing, and he supported us in every way. He actually even bought tickets to give away for promotion.
Wow.
So and he made a lot of social media content as well. So it was really fun. It was
Yeah, I've been
also
seeing that.
it was also really fun for the bands here, like all of us, to interact with someone who has covered a lot of scenes um,
Hmm.
around the world, and especially and he had also been to Pakistan before. So
Oh,
he
okay.
covered the hip hop scene in Lahore last time. So
Interesting.
and that's also a scene that is sort of adjacent to ours. So we've got a lot of
Mhm.
collaborators in there as well. So, but it
Yeah.
was a really nice experience seeing some because and this is something Jim said. So when we got off of stage after our first performance, everyone was so excited we couldn't even understand what had just happened. And Jim was like, "I want to see you guys play in Europe in like 3 years," and we're like, "What is that possible? I don't know." Obviously, we couldn't make much sense of the situation at that time because like the adrenaline because of the performance was so high. But it was regardless of how reality actually plays out. It was really good to see that something we put in so much of our heart and our energy toward
Mhm.
someone who is familiar with how things are outside of this bubble that we have most of our lives found ourselves in. And it's sort of a validation in a way that you're not really looking for it, but it just confirms that, okay, you're on the right path because you're standing up for something,
Yeah.
you're putting out art which is wonderful, which is true to what you believe in, and then others are responding to it, not even in just your own circle, but there's potential for it to be global, which is where my first question to you comes in. When you saw the tour happening, first, what did you make of it as someone who is from Pakistan and the UAE, but also someone who's seen bands and artists play all across? How, when do you think Pakistan will export like a proper band kind of act on a global scale? And obviously there are a lot of indie as well as pop artists also doing that, and I'm so proud of all of them, and they're all doing really well right now, but I don't think we're seeing many band
Yeah,
kind of situations doing that.
yeah, for sure. Like in the like a typical band, I don't think that I don't see that really. Uh, I don't know a band in the recent years that came out of Pakistan, right? That's like especially like a rock band or something, especially in that niche, right? So yeah, that would be man like a miracle if that would happen. I do think that it's possible for sure. It's going to take a lot of work. I think tours like what you did, I think more of those things would definitely aid to that for sure. Like having someone abroad come in and now having him as a contact, that could really be beneficial when it comes to, you know, like going to Europe. Like, I don't even think you need to plan it out as airtight as well, right? You could just be a band and collectively go to Europe and, go to these bar gigs and actually just do a show. I think that's pretty doable, honestly. Like, I don't think there are a lot of bars there and venues there that are totally accepting, to like performers. Like the few bars here in Dubai, it's like 5 days before the show, you could just hit the guy up and be like, "Hey, I want to perform at the bar." He's like, "Yeah, all right, cool. Just send me a video of how you play, and that's it." It's super simple. It's nothing too complicated. It's not like you have to have like 10,000 followers or whatever the hell, right? So I think it's the answer usually is in front of you, but it's just that we need to put in the effort collectively to build a community, build it such that it's internationally uh, viewed upon as something that's healthy and it's beautiful and something that we can promote down the line for sure. I mean, I see a lot of Pakistani artists who are you know in Europe, right? But like they're like just like one person, doing their solo metal act, right? I think there's a guitarist. I forget his name. I think his name is Wasim. But yeah, he is. I think he's in Finland or something, and he's an incredible guitar player. And he's got like a pretty good following in that regard as well. But actually, I wanted to talk about Asim Sierra. I think you know about
Yeah,
Asim Sierra.
yeah, we
He
met
is
him
one
together.
one guy. We met him together. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
he apparently left Pakistan all those years ago, and he joined the legendary band Winter Sun.
Winter Sun.
Like
Yeah,
Winter Sun, like that is a big band, man. And he's working
yeah.
with Epica and Nightwish and all sorts of people, all those kind of people in that regard. I mean, obviously, I guess since he's in Finland, right, which is the country which has the most metal bands, right? It made sense for him to be part of that. And yeah, very cool, man. Imagine if we took Awesome Sierra and just duplicated him 4 times, and now you've got a band. And so I think yeah, that's the way to go. Maybe just collectively just take a weird trip to Europe, and not only just for like the band, but just enjoy life and just travel, right?
Yeah.
And just go to a new country as a tourist, and then do a gig on the side. Like that would be pretty cool for sure. And imagine like going on stage and being like, "We're a band from Pakistan, from Lahore," and then you kind of blow them off, with your
That would be
every
wild,
thirst trap.
man.
That would be so sick, man. That's like the kind of things you would want to dream about at night. And you're like, holy shit, that would be cool, It's like if we did that, and it's possible, man.
Honestly, man, the whole tour was something that we would like dream of as kids. And the fact, because it wasn't just like a singular show at just like one venue, right? It was like a whole
Yeah,
thing. And
yeah,
the thing that we learned by doing that, because so all of it was DIY, we learned that when you actually embark on the journey, when you actually take the first step, actually the path starts appearing. It like sounds very simple when you say it like that. In hindsight, obviously the dots connect, but all of the fear that so much of the fear that we had, It was because we were just always thinking about it in the sense like someone else would come in and basically tell the answers, but that's never gonna happen. And even right now,
Mhm.
so a lot of musicians in Pakistan might feel like, because I used to be one of them, that okay, maybe things are because of this little bit of the grass is greener on the other side. So maybe
Mhm.
things are easier that way. Maybe they have better infrastructure. Maybe they have better
Mhm.
venues. And for sure, some of
Yeah.
those might be objectively true. Sure, they might have more bars, but the
Yeah.
process is the same, isn't it? You have to contact the venue
Mhm.
yourself. You have to set up the whole show yourself. You have to
Yeah.
sell the tickets yourself. It's still going to be you
100%.
who's doing it. So, how different do you
A lot,
think
a-
is it?
yeah, a lot of times, you would think that it's a lot harder, right? Where it's like they've got advantages that I don't have, and I don't have this and this and that. But like, I think you're starting off from a negative point of view. I think that you should be more, optimistic with embarking such a task. I think because when the kind of my mom used to say this, like if you just fake smile every now and then, you end up being happy generally, right? So fake it till you make it in a sense, and I really do think that's true. So like you kind of have to act like you're important. You kind of have to act like this is something that is easy to do, right? When I'm learning how to play a really crazy guitar riff, right? When I was trying to learn Polypheus playing God thing, right? That was incredibly hard to me. But then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be the average person who says that this is hard. I don't want to say that this is hard from the get go. I'm going to say this shit's fucking easy, man. I'm gonna fucking do it. And so my whole mindset changed in that sense, and now it was sure really fucking hard, but I kept persisting that mental, you know, thing where it's like, okay, no, this is easy. This is not supposed to be hard. And
Mm.
at the end of it, when I learned how to play it, I was like, oh, yeah, man, this was really fucking easy. And so I guess the same thing applies to anything when you're trying to do, let's say, build a community, do a tour, whatever, anything that's big and scary. And you just have to fake it till you make it, and just be the person. Act like you know your shit. Act like you got your shit together. That's like every company is like that. Like all your bosses, you think that they know what they're doing? No, they don't know shit. They can't even send an email without sending like some copy pasted shit from ChatGPT and like not fact checking anything. It's hilarious how this world is run on just vibes alone or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it is really.
But I mean, that's where all of it starts, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
so that's a very good point. So the people that we work with, it's rare that we consciously choose them. It's mostly a
Mhm.
byproduct of us being just honest in ourselves. So if, like, as a person, if you're authentic, you just like with any relationship, you'll attract basically what you put out. So what kind of artists does Crop Circle attract basically? And like, are there any values you filter for? Like, is there something going on in your brain when like a certain person contacts you for work, or like even during the process? Um, what when does it, or does it even come into play, how authentic someone is and how much they connect to you, your values and your studio's values? Because I'm sure you
Mhm.
as a musician, as an artist, and Crop Circle must have a vision of where you're going, why you
Yeah,
started.
100%.
So how do you filter
Absolutely.
for that?
Like they've typically the higher your price and the more expensive the client is, they tend to be a lot more passionate about their music, and they tend to actually give a shit, right? It's the clients that don't pay you enough, they end up being like, I want 20 revisions, I want to change the song after a year from it's done, and so that's one thing that, as someone who's trying to make like some sort of income from this, I think you should position yourself in a sense where you have certain values, where you won't where you price yourself where you think is genuinely where you are worth, right, in terms of at least quality mixes and all that kind of stuff, as well as the kind of music that you want to be a part of, right? Because sure, I could mix a song that's badly edited, but now my name is on a track that has out of time guitars, out of time drum parts, that the guitar is out of tune, something that I can't fix because it's recorded already and I'm just doing the mixing and mastering, right? So there is a point where, now, do you want to have the income from that, or do you want to have the reputation of someone who's attributed to lower tier productions, right? Because at the end of the day, someone who's going to be listening to that is not going to be listening to like, okay, yeah, okay, Mustafa, he just did the mixing, so I'm not going to blame it on him, right? But they're just going to take the whole overall picture. Like this song, it's nicely mixed in a sense, but it sounds like ass. The guitar's out of tune. I'm hearing someone's dog scream in the corner, right, as they're recording vocals. Like so, you've got to have some sort of backbone, and I think that's very, very important. I've gotten to the point where I'm usually someone who likes to keep the waters calm, which I typically always do. But when I have a guitarist who's not getting their part right, I wouldn't be rude or anything, but like it's like you need to fix that. You need to first learn your part, and then you can come tomorrow or something, and we'll do it because it's so important for the musician to be competent on their instrument as well, because it's at the end of the day they're going to be playing that music live. At the end of the day, that's their music, and what good is it if I play the guitars? What good is it if I play the bass parts and everything? Like the whole connection's lost, right? It's might as well just use AI, right, or something. I don't know. I want a Tesseract song like that. Give me 5/8 or whatever. So,
and the whole point of doing it yourself is the human aspect of it.
Yeah, 100%, and it's so important, right? Like just, but I'm always open to it. I don't mind it. If someone wants me to track, let's say quad track a guitar, if they can't get it right, I'm totally open to it. And sometimes I even offer that. But generally speaking, I think from a musician's point, I think their goal should be that this is something that they've recorded themselves, and it's their music. And I think it's so much more like there's so much more love to be had. That connection that a musician can have, from their music. Because imagine, like, go for it.
And in either case, there is responsibility and commitment from your part and their part to make a decision and then stick with it. That's how a project, like with any creative project, this is how anything gets built. Like at the end of the day, otherwise projects never get finished.
100%.
And we're almost about to run out of time. So as the last question, how do projects get finished? And what is something that you're about to put out or something you're excited about working on?
I think, at a certain point, once you've mangled your mix enough, you're like, I've spent I've spent a good amount of my years on this, or like my life juice on this thing. So it's at a certain point, you just have to let go, man. When they say, if you love something, you got to let it go. It's the same thing with mixing. It's at a certain point, you could tweak every single thing. You could change that one track on like 256th track and change the compression rate from 3:1 to 4:1, or change the threshold from -13 to -13.56. So it's insane. You're gonna release nothing if that's how you do it. So at a certain point, you just gotta let go, man, and let the wheels, run on itself, and just believe on the vision. I think getting mixes done fast is very important because the vision's really fresh in your mind and how you want it to sound. And so once you just get your processes right and your processes right, getting your templates, streamlining your workflow allows you to mix faster and allows you to make decisions faster, which ends up being the project. So you don't allow yourself to overthink, So once the mix is done, it's like, all right, that's the mix, and it sounds great. So just do a few checks, do your typical references, your AirPods references, play it on a phone speaker, laptop speaker. And if it sounds that it's surviving on the same rate as your favorite band, it's not like sounding so bad in comparison, and you're good. That's when a mix is done. That's for sure. That's my processes, at least now. But I have to admit there are a lot of times where I would remix one section of a track like a year from now, just on my own personal stuff, right? Because I have the privilege of doing that because it's my own music. Just like a few days ago, I just changed something on the snare on my recent previous track, and no one notices because we get 10 monthly listeners, so no one cares.
I don't.
All right, cool.
But it's worth it. It's worth it to you as an artist. But there always needs to be a balance.
100%. That's true. And in terms of what I'm releasing soon, well, hopefully we would get the album done this year. Hopefully, now that I've got my synthwave track, for some reason I wanted to make that. Now that's done. I'm not thinking about that anymore. I'm working on a new track. I need to finish off 2 more tracks on the record. I'm recording that. Rayan, he's recording the vocals. He'll be sending me some vocals for that, and then we should be done. 2 more tracks, and the album will be finally done. And yeah, hope it would be fun to come to Pakistan and do some music videos with you. Maybe it'd be awesome.
That
So
would be
yeah,
sick,
that's
man.
the next part.
Oh, then let's go. I cannot wait for new Regis music and just generally anything new that you're working on. I'm gonna
Thank
leave
you, man.
links for your stuff down in the
Hell yeah,
comments or
man.
some
Likewise, man.
description or something, so that people can check it out. I fucking
Yeah,
love
man.
that shit, man. Thank you so
Appreciate it, man.
much,
It's-
Mustafa, for joining.
Thank you for having me on, man. Am I the first
Yeah.
person to be on this?
Yeah, this is the first episode
Hell yeah, dude.
of the podcast from Havannaq, from
The
House
No
of
Name
Havannaq,
Podcast.
but there
House
is
of-
no name for
There we
it
go.
yet. So
We'll figure it out.
we'll come.
Leave
Yeah.
leave the comments down below.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
suggest a name in the comments.
100%.
Okay, thank you so much, man. Take care.
All right, brother. Thank you so much for having me. Love you, dude.
Love
Bye.
you too. Goodbye.